Grandma gave cousins' kids iPads but ignored my son. He doesn't need much, she said. I smiled. Neither do you. I stopped paying her rent. She cried. Have you ever had one of those moments where your entire body goes cold, but your face remains cheerful because you're seated at a family dinner table and can't afford to scream? That was me right there. Right there. We were at my parents' house on Saturday evening, sitting at the same old oak table where I grew up eating mashed potatoes, and my mother advised me to sit up taller and not chew like a truck driver. Roasted chicken, string beans, and my father's favorite cornbread. Everything looked fine, except for the potatoes and manners. Oh, the typical partiality, phony smiles, and a thin veneer of judgment with each bite. My sister Madeline, the golden child, was seated across from me with her husband and their two twins, all in perfect posture with identical sweaters and napkins on their laps. And Noah, my sweet, loving, odd little Noah, stood beside me, bouncing his legs beneath the table and softly peeling the crust off his bread, as he always does when he is worried. Then it arrived. My mother took a sip of her wine, looked at the twins like she was looking at royalty, then dropped the remark that set everything off. Some grandchildren make you proud every day. That was it. There was no warning or shame, it was simply uttered as a casual compliment. It's not like Noah was sitting 6 feet away, holding a juice box and trying to be good. She did not glance at him. Not even a glance. But Noah gazed at her. Then he stared at me. His eyes widened, slightly bewildered and hurt. He then said, "Am I one of them?" I swear the entire world became silent in that instant. I could hear my heart cracking. I wish I was being theatrical, but I am not. That sentence came from him. It broke me. I felt it in my spine. Do you ever want to crawl across a table, grab someone by their perfectly highlighted shoulders, and ask, "What is wrong with you?" I took a breath. I reached out and took Noah's small hand in mine. His fingers were icy, and I looked directly at my parents, not my sister or her twins, and said, "Some parents use my bank account, but they won't be able to do so any longer." There was silence. It was beautiful. My father actually choked on his water. My mother suddenly became quite interested in the green beans. And Madeline, oh, she lifted one of her gorgeous brows, like if she were watching a low-budget soap drama. I didn't care. I didn't mind if it made me the villain in their eyes. Because I want to ask you something. What would you have done? Allow your youngster to sit there, convinced that he is unfit for his own family. This was not about a single comment. This was about years of witnessing Noah be passed over, disregarded, and treated as if he didn't exist. He won the school science fair 2 years ago. They remarked, "Oh, that's nice," and immediately inquired if Madeline's twins were still playing the violin. Noah learned to swim last summer. My mother turned the discussion to Madeline's planned cruise. I had had enough. Don't get me started on the money. Oh, I'm the responsible, independent daughter, which in their lingo means the one we can guilt into paying bills. I repaid their credit card bill twice. I helped with my sister's emergency down payment. Spoiler alert, the emergency was a Disney vacation, which I was never praised for. No, that would mean admitting they needed me. They prefer to take quietly while ignoring loudly. Well, not anymore. Noah looked up at me with those large brown eyes, and I realized I couldn't protect him from everything, but I could certainly protect him from emotional sabotage. So I said it and I meant it. Do you think I went too far? Or not far enough? Because I had no idea at the time that this supper and this moment would change everything. What happened next was not what I expected. And shortly, I'll tell you how my mother responded when I stopped playing the grateful daughter role. It gets worse before it gets better, but believe me, it will get better eventually. So, after I said it, after I threw that tiny line across the table like a grenade with a smile, some parents used my bank account, but they will no longer be able to do so. There was this strange, uncomfortable period of quiet, as if the entire room inhaled but forgot to exhale. My father coughed, not just a small clear your throat cough, but a full-fledged shocked, about to choke on cornbread crisis. His face grew crimson, his eyes moistened. My mother quietly handed him his drink, as if she had nothing to do with it, as if I hadn't already exposed the family's hypocrisy like a rotting banana at the Saturday table. Madeline, my sister, grinned. I swear to you that she smiled. That smug little look she used to wear when she came home from college with big news, and I was the only one doing the dishes in the background. Wow, she exclaimed, sipping her wine without blinking. Someone has problems. I wanted to laugh. I actually did. But Noah was now seated next to me, gripping my sleeve. He had no idea what was occurring, but he felt it. Children always do. They are emotional sponges. So, I turned to him and said, "You're fine. You did nothing wrong." He nodded slowly but did not grin. Have you ever seen your kid shrink like that? As if he's attempting to fold himself into nothing in order to keep the peace. That's you. And then, from across the table, my mother tilted her head slightly and murmured, "Sweetheart, if something bothers you, please tell us. You do not have to erupt like this." Erupt? I did not even raise my voice. But that's the case with folks like my mother. You say no for the first time in your life, and you become unstable. You bring up the fact that you've been supporting 2 grown adults for the past 5 years, and you have a breakdown. I remain calm. I did not blink. "I'm not exploding," I said. "I'm just done pretending this is normal." My mother's fork froze halfway to her mouth. "What isn't normal?" she inquired calmly. as if she didn't already know. And you know what? For the first time, I told her the entire truth. It's not usual for Noah to be ignored while the twins receive standing ovations for simply being. It's unusual that I've handed you tens of thousands of dollars, and you've never said thank you, and it's certainly not typical that the moment I stopped being beneficial, I became the issue. Silence. Even the twins had stopped chewing. My father set down his fork as if he intended to speak, but he did not. Of course not. He never does when it really counts. And Madeline, oh, she was texting under the table, perhaps crafting a message for her group chat. My sister is genuinely losing it at supper. So I looked at Noah again. His eyes were large, puzzled, and a touch terrified. I whispered, "You are great. Do you hear me? There is nothing wrong with you." And then, "So, help me." My mother had the gall to add, "Well, maybe if you didn't seem so defensive all the time, things would feel more balanced." I actually laughed out loud. "Defensive?" I said. "Do you think this is about me being defensive? Try being invisible at your own grandparents' table for 9 years straight and tell me how it feels." I got up. Noah stood beside me. He did not even hesitate. And before leaving the table, I said, "You know what? I've had enough of attempting to buy affection. If you want anything from me from now on, you'll have to start treating my son like he's important." And then we left. We got in my car. I put Noah's seatbelt on as if it were any other night. Then I sat behind the wheel for about 2 minutes, staring at my quivering hands. Noah leaned closer and asked, "Are they furious at us?" And I answered, "Maybe, but I'm not terrified of it anymore." I noticed something while sitting in my car. They brainwashed me my entire life to believe that their acceptance was something I had to buy with money, silence, and swallowing my emotions. But Noah will not grow up learning the same lesson. Not on my watch. Do you know what occurred next? I pulled into my home, put Noah to bed, and remained at my kitchen table until nearly 1 a.m., gathering every receipt I had, bank transactions, Venmo logs, Cash App screenshots, everything. And I forwarded it all to the family group chat in a single statement. "Here's a list of things I've done for you that you all appear to have forgotten." Clears throat. Was that too much? So what happened after that? It was silent for 3 days. Finally, one of them responded, and their words were a relief. "Do you want to sit down for this one?" 3 days. That is how long it took for anyone to respond after I pushed submit. The family group chat, which is usually filled with blessed morning sun texts and fuzzy photographs of church bulletin boards, was completely silent. I wasn't expecting cheers as I dropped images of every transaction, loan, and favor I gave without interest, followed by, "In case anyone forgot who's been footing the bill." I didn't expect a thank you, but the quiet was stronger than any reaction. Have you ever done something daring and instantly felt like you were suspended in midair with no way to land? That was me sitting on the edge of my couch, checking my phone every 5 minutes, half expecting a response, half hoping for one. Noah noticed. He inquired, "Are you upset with Grandma?" I paused. Then I said something honest, but cautious. "No, I'm just done pretending she didn't hurt our feelings." He gazed at me for a long moment, nodded slowly, and returned to building a Lego spaceship. Then, unexpectedly, it appeared. My father texted me. Yes, him. The man who has never voluntarily texted me anything other than all right. The man whose most emotional message to me was, "Don't drive on bald tires." I didn't realize it was so much. I apologize. I sat there frozen, reading it at least 5 times. I don't think I blinked. Then another one arrived. "I should have been more attentive. I let your mother manage things. Maybe that was a mistake. And I am just wondering whether you have ever cried not because you are unhappy, but because someone finally uttered the bare minimum and it seemed like a miracle." That was me. But it did not end there. A few minutes later, Uncle Marcus messaged me. Allow me to establish the scene here. Uncle Marcus is the family ghost, my mother's older brother, with whom she had a screaming war 14 years ago about her self-centered behavior during Thanksgiving. He relocated to Arizona, adopted a puppy, began brewing beer in his garage, and, as far as I knew, had mentally abandoned the entire family. I hadn't even realized he was still in the group chat. But there he was. It took guts to send it. I mean, you are not wrong. Then she did the same thing to me when my daughter was little, never arrived to her birthday. She always had an appointment, but she never missed Madeline's children's recital. My jaw fell. I almost couldn't believe it at first. I was so used to feeling like I was the only one who could see through her shenanigans. "You're not the only person she's made feel small," he explained. "But you might be the first to say something. Have you ever felt that 3 texts could explain your entire childhood?" "Yes, that's it." I sat there, startled. And then, just as I was ready to react, Noah came over and hopped onto the couch beside me. He rested his head on my shoulder and inquired, "Are we going back to Grandma's?" I hesitated, not because I didn't know the answer, but because he didn't ask if Grandma or I were mad. He inquired if we were going back. He felt compelled to know what the future held now that things were no longer a lie. So I answered, "Only if she wants to see you, not just the twins." He remained silent for a bit. Then he nodded and muttered, "I don't want to go if I'm just background." My heart broke like an egg. That's when I realized I'd done the correct thing. Even if it made me a troublemaker, even if it wrecked the years-long illusion of quiet. Because my son was learning something I hadn't learned until my early 40s. That he matters, even if no one applauds, no one posts about him, and they act as if he is invisible. Then something wild happened. Madeline called me, not texted, called twice. Then she left a voice memo that began, "I'm not sure what's been going on with you lately, but you're definitely upsetting Mom. She hasn't left her room since the group chat thing. So it's my fault she's hiding in her silk robe and drinking tea in a dramatic manner." I didn't answer. I wasn't prepared. Not because I lacked the words, but because I had finally grasped something. This wasn't about a single dinner, this was not a group conversation. This has been years in the making. And just when I thought it couldn't be much more passive-aggressive, Noah showed me grandmother's Facebook post, camera with flash. Madeline's children stand in front of a piano. Sparkles captioned, "So grateful for the joy these two bring into our lives every single day, a yellow heart, number blessed number proud gamma." That was it. No mention of Noah. No mention of the big explosion that had just occurred. I stared at the computer until something drew my attention in the comments. "Aunt Susan. Noah is also a joy. I hope he's doing well. 2 hearts. Cousin Emma, you have 3 grandchildren, right?" People were noticing. I could feel her control slipping. And I wasn't doing anything anymore. I had ceased performing, and then the show ended. "Allow me to ask you something. Why is it that when you stop trying to earn affection, people begin to question why you tried so hard in the first place?" So here I am, waiting because I know what is going to happen next. She is going to call. She always does, after everyone else stops clapping. But what she doesn't realize is that Noah will be there when she calls, and he will talk first. I was surprised by what he said. It occurred the next Thursday. I was folding laundry, attempting to recover a sense of normalcy, when my phone rang. The screen flashed up. I stared at it. Noah also noticed her name appear up. He was sitting at the table, coloring in a space-themed book he had received as a gift from his last school. He looked up at me, then back at the phone, and then asked, calmly, "Can I answer it?" I blinked. "Are you sure?" He nodded as if it wasn't a question. So I gave it to him. My hands were still sweaty from doing washing. My heart was stiff and thudding. I had no idea what was going to happen, but I knew I wouldn't meddle. He tapped the green button and placed the phone to his ear. "Hello, Grandma. It's me." There was a pause. I could not hear what she said. On the other end, all I could hear was her feeble voice. Noah went on, "Why didn't you mention that I was also a decent grandson?" There's silence. I sat down fully, every nerve in my body on alert. He nodded and listened quietly. Then he replied, "It's fine if you like the twins, but I want you to like me openly, not in secret." I swear I forgot how to breathe. He stared at me. I gave him a tiny nod. His small fingers gripped the phone hard. "Then, I heard you say something complimentary about them. But I'm here too." And I made my teacher chuckle with a science joke. And I helped Mom bring the groceries. There was more stillness. I could now hear my mother's voice, a faint, sorrowful hum. I couldn't exactly understand the words. Noah then added softly, "You made Mom sad. He tried hard. But you only clapped for other people." Another long period followed. He ended with, "If you want to come to my school play, I'll save you a seat. But if you don't come, that's fine. I'm just not going to wait for clapping anymore." He handed me the phone back. I stared at him. He blinked once and remarked, "I just told the truth." Do you know what that felt like? This tiny guy, the one I had worked so hard to shield from emotional harm, had turned around and protected me. He saw everything. Every fake grin, every backhanded compliment, every time I held my breath in that house, every time I wiped his tears in the automobile that followed. Instead of crumbling, he stood taller than anyone in this family had ever done. Now for the wild part. She arrived shortly after the phone call. Yep, my mother drove over that same evening. No announcement, no guilt texts, no theatrical sighs, just rang the doorbell like a normal person. Noah responded. She was standing there, holding a supermarket bag full of his favorite goodies. Juice boxes, his favorite cereal, gummy bears, not flowers or gifts, but the items he'd told her he loved on a trip she scarcely noticed. He asked, "Can I talk to you and your mother?" Noah turned back to face me. I nodded completely. She stepped inside. Her eyes were red, not the red of allergies. The kind of red caused by sincere tears. The kind she won't let anyone see. She sat down and stated, "I believe I forgot how to be fair, and I think I forgot how to apologize. You could have knocked me over with a feather." She then looked at Noah and said, "I see you now. I apologize for making you feel as if I didn't." He didn't say anything dramatic. He simply nodded and opened the juice box she brought. Like that was enough. He seemed to understand better than I did that forgiveness isn't about flowers or long speeches. It's about someone making a final attempt. But when she looked at me, I could see it. She spent a year pretending. The significance of being called out in public. My honesty left bruises on her pride. "You didn't deserve what I did to you," she told me. "You did everything right. And I treated you like an extra." I felt the air shift. Do you know what it's like to finally hear the words you've waited your entire life for? I wanted to cry, but I did not. I just nodded. Finally, it was no longer about her. It was about us. Me and Noah, our peace, home, and truth. She asked if she could attend Noah's school play. I told her, "He saved your seat." For the first time in years, it felt real. But that's not the end. What happened next? Let's just say Madeline did not take this well. Do you want to hear petty? Do you want to hear how desperate they are to reclaim the spotlight? You will not believe what she does next. Noah's school play day arrived like a breath held. We had been practicing his line all week. He'd walk around the house in his foam Neptune costume, wobbling like a baby moon, and proudly announce, "I'm Neptune, cold and far, but still part of the family of stars." And every time he said, "family," something in me tightened slightly, because wasn't that the whole point? The point of everything we'd been through in the last few weeks was that family is what counts, who matters, and who deserves applause. He didn't ask me if grandma was coming. He did not inquire about Madeline, the twins, or who would sit in the front row. He concentrated solely on getting his one line right. Do you know why? Because he had stopped waiting for claps. He no longer needed permission to feel proud of himself. But, I still had that tiny knot in my stomach, which I'd had my entire life when it came to family gatherings. That little voice in my head whispering, what if they don't arrive? What if they show up and pretend you aren't there? I did not say anything. I just packed an extra juice box in my purse in case he became nervous. We got to school early. I helped him adjust his costume and kissed his forehead. He was calm, focused, and ready. And then I entered the auditorium. They were all present. My mother, my father, Madeline, the twins, Aunt Susan, even Uncle Marcus, with a giant coffee and a grin like he was watching the season finale of a family drama he'd been waiting years to see. Madeline didn't look at me when I walked in. Mom did. And to my shock, she smiled. A small one, a little stiff, but real. She patted the seat next to her. I hesitated just for a second, but then I sat. I didn't do it for her. I did it for Noah. Because this story, it's never been about proving myself. It's been about teaching my son that you can stand your ground without burning down every bridge behind you. The lights dimmed. The kids came out in glittery foam planets and starry paper hats. There were laughs, forgotten lines, and one unfortunate child who sneezed into Saturn's rings. Then came Noah's turn. He stepped out boldly and confidently, his costume wobbling as he approached the microphone. He looked right at the crowd, right at us, and said, "I'm Neptune, cold and distant, but still a member of the star family." He said it clearly, loudly, and without hesitation. And my mother. She stood and applauded before anyone else. She clapped repeatedly, even after the other parents joined in. I looked over and noticed tears in her eyes. Real ones. My father clapped awkwardly, but he was trying. Uncle Marcus gave a standing ovation as if he were on Broadway. And Madeline gave a tight, forced smile, but she didn't say anything. Following the show, there was punch and sugar cookies in the school cafeteria. Noah ran up to me, his cheeks flushed with excitement, and asked, "Did I do well?" I took him into my arms. "You did great," he said, beaming. My mother then approached with a bag, a genuine, authentic gift bag. She crouched to Noah's level and handed it to him. "For you," she stated. "There's no reason, just because I'm proud of you." He looked inside, and there were his favorite chocolate bars, a small sketch pad, and a note saying, "You are also my star." I did not cry in front of them. But later that night, after I had put Noah to bed, I sat in the dark in my kitchen and let it happen. Because that note was more than I ever received as a child. And if it means standing up and speaking out, cutting financial ties, and burning guilt trips like matches, so be it. Noah would never have to wonder whether he was loved. Thanksgiving arrived. This time it happened in my house. My residence. No more fake grins at mom's table. No more pretending that Madeline's dry turkey was a family tradition. No more performances. I cooked. My father brought the sweet potatoes, which were still insipid but had been seasoned with actual effort. My mother brought rolls and an old cranberry dish, and she even asked Noah to help her in the kitchen. Madeline arrived late. There's no dramatic entrance or power play. She helped with the service. The twins played peacefully. There were actual conversations, laughter that didn't feel forced. Even a group photo that hasn't been planned to perfection. I stood there with the camera, staring at them all. Noah sits on my lap. Mom is smiling, truly happy, with a flower on her sweater. Uncle Marcus was recounting a story, and my dad was nodding along. Madeline sipped cider while silently watching the room, and I realized this is the family I'd always wanted. Not flawless, not always fair, but finally authentic. So, have you ever had to fight to be seen inside your own family? Have you ever stood up, despite your shaking voice, and said, "I deserve better than this"?